right, Jason. So,
yes.
Of course, my Twitter mentions and my timeline is on fire right now. So you know what time it is. The NBA is back, baby, and we are cooking, okay? We just got through with our first week in the association. Your Knicks have New York fans losing their minds in the streets. I don't know if people have seen that 1-minute clip where the Knicks fans just yell a lot. Trae Young was like the bane of everybody's existence for a while, but my Hawks are looking focused and ready. The Ben Simmons drama is still going, but also there's a little curve. The Lakers are trying to find their groove with what we thought might be an all-star squad, but they're still figuring things out. Kyrie has protesters outside of Barclays, and it felt a little bit like January 6th. I don't know. The chaos in sports media is going crazy right now. They released the NBA top 75 players. There were memes. There were mad people. Klay Thompson chimed in. Where do we even start? Is NBA all caps back?
It's coming back this week.
Let's go. So we're back, baby. Everything is back. Let's go.
Let's start with the 75 because I have some structural issues with this list. I'm sure you do as well. I think probably the biggest obvious snub is Dwight Howard.
No question.
Multiple-time Defensive Player of the Year. An absolutely dominant player for most of his career until he started experiencing back issues. And he should absolutely be on this list. This is just me. In the NFL, right? All records are post-merger, Super Bowl era. I feel like for the NBA, it should be after the merger, the NBA-ABA merger, and post 3-point line. That should be really when history starts. And a lot of the players who played before this era, I think we just need to be a little bit more discerning. Does that mean Wilt is not? No, Wilt is there. Russell is there. Jerry West is there. Elgin Baylor is there. But there are just, Dolph Schayes. Does anybody know about Dolph Schayes? Does anybody know even if he's right or left-handed? You know what I mean? Like Bob Cousy. There was like 7-8 teams in the league. And before Bill Russell arrived, Bob Cousy was not winning championships, folks, in a tiny, tiny league. Could only go right. I could go on. I just feel like we need to be there's a lot more room for more people if we just kind of are more selective with our pre-merger names. No disrespect to anybody, but what do you think, Renee?
I agree that something needs to be done in a sense of, so with the W25, it was voted on by fans, and obviously that's flawed because fans are going to have a favorite. You see it every year in All-Star where a player is an All-Star because they're a fan favorite, like Alex Caruso. He was like at the top of, he almost made All-Star for the fan voting because he's a fan favorite. They were chanting MVP in the Chicago Bulls arena last game. So there's always going to be a fan bias. But the interesting thing about the NBA is they didn't ask the fans. They picked these players. It was, criteria that they chose these players from. Dwight Howard has to be the obvious snub. And this brings me to something that I wonder how it affects legacy. So if a player plays past their prime, and if the player that you knew is no longer the player that's playing in front of you or not dominating, does that almost take away from what you've done? Because what Dwight Howard has done speaks for itself. So if you just look at what Dwight Howard has done, how could you leave him off the list? Like that's it. So I don't understand what happened.
I completely agree with you. Here's another name that I think should be, in my estimation, is a bubble guy nonetheless. Now, Bill Walton, okay? Listen, he is the king of vibes, absolutely one of the best passing big men. One of the best passing big men ever, won a championship in 77 with the Blazers, but then was injured after he broke his foot for basically his entire career. Had a healthy stint with the 86 Celtics as a super sub, got his chip. But to your point, he was not the player he was pre the injury, which happened very early in his career, ever again. And yet he is on this list. Now I can make an argument for him being like a bubble guy in a 75, but Pistol Pete Maravich, again, love Pistol Pete. And I think he means something.
Yeah, he got to be on that list, though. Yeah.
He means something to the game of basketball in terms of, he was the first guy that really took dribbling to a level of like science and art and craftsmanship. His dad let him shoot 40 times a game as a college athlete. but never got a chip, was divisive at the time. I just think that there are a lot, like Ray Allen. Is Klay better than Ray Allen? Maybe. I think you could. There's a lot of stuff in here that I'm not so sure about.
Shuttlesworth. Are you kidding me? We're not talking about Jesus Shuttlesworth. I think that when we talk about Steph and Klay and we reference Reggie Miller and Ray Allen, that to me means, all right, secured.
And again, to talk about like the pre-merger guys, George Mikan. I understand George Mikan was important to the league when the Lakers were in Minnesota. What was Mikan's move? I don't know. What was, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know what his move was.
Well, you know what, Jason? That brings me to something. I don't like lists. Like, I really, and I know this sounds crazy. I'm an analyst. I do host for NBA. I don't like lists because there's a huge flaw. What happens when the list is full? So you're talking about all these guys from the past, but you know what they say? Like, those guys from the past had to walk so that these guys could run. So imagine Pistol Pete not doing what he did to attract people, the flash, the glitz, the glam. So then imagine how the progression of that happened and somebody watch. Like, that's why I always, I'm one of those people that pay tribute to the OGs, like, by all means. But I also think that there has to be a time where we say, yes, these were the OGs, but we're doing a current list now, or we almost put them in these are the top blank, and we will no longer discuss what they mean to the current list because we know that they are on this previous list that will always remain true for what they've done for the league. I think all leagues have to do that because if we have our top 75 right now, and in 25 years, the NBA has another 25 added to the list for NBA 100. Well, then in the next 25 years, only 25 players can make that new list because then don't you have to carry over the old 75 to come back in the new 100? It's like, that feels heavy baggage to me.
I completely agree with you. And I agree we need to acknowledge the legends who built the game. At the same time, we need to do it by different criteria than we are using to include the current players. Because let's be real about it. If you send Lou Dort back in a time machine to 1957, he's like winning multiple MVPs and driving Bob Cousy out of the league. Like, Bob Cousy be like, I quit. I'm not playing anymore because Lou Dort is
but you can't do that. What would happen when we sent LeBron back on a time machine? Since we're using this time machine, I mean, what would happen if you sent 2021 to back whenever when they were playing in Chuck Taylor's?
They'd change all the rules. They wouldn't know what to do. I don't.
Like,
you know what I mean?
Or the reverse. Send them the present day NBA. What if we took the time machine the other way and they rocked up in their Adidas and was really going to try to compete? That's why I think that we can't have a list that's a comprehensive list because
I agree.
It's just like you even said it. There was literally 2 different games of basketball being played on this list. So we have to figure out a way to just retire the GOATs that will forever be the GOATs. This happened in the W25 as well. So this is not an NBA problem. This is an all sports problem. There's so many good players that come through that how do you decipher who gets to be the GOATs? I know people make a living off of this. Stephen A. Smith and them, they talk about GOATs and the greatest and the who's the better than this all day. I know that that's people's jobs, but when we have to get real about this, a top 75, when you think about the players that are here right now, it's just not realistic. We have to retire the OGs and let the current players thrive. Jason, we got to talk about my Hawks. High expectations. And how do I know it's high expectations? Because we had an NBA on TNT game. And for people that don't know, those are only reserved for the teams that they think that people want to see, the important teams. I don't know if we had any NBA on TNT games last year. So for us to get things popping at the beginning of the year on NBA on TNT, and we got the dub, I felt really good. Then when they went and talked about us, it was like, yeah, the Hawks won, but they're probably about 5 or 6. And then Trae Young tweeted, the credits don't roll until the end of the movie. So we'll see what happens next, baby. So yeah, my Hawks, we dropped 1 to Cleveland. Trae went 8 for 22. It happens. I'm excited. I think that when people look at our team and talk about our team, they don't talk about DeAndre Hunter. Cam Reddish, who those are two names that we didn't really have in the playoff run that we have now. That imagine our team before that we brought John Collins back, Clint Capella back, of course, Trae Young back, Bogey back, Danilo Gallinari back. Oh, and now we get the other players that we had, DeAndre Hunter, Cam Reddish. I'm really excited. Like, I really think that we have a nucleus that can compete. I think we're better than 5th or 6th in the East. But Jason, you and I were talking about it in the pre-production. The East all of a sudden wanted to get good in a hurry. Just as soon as the Knicks and the Hawks turned up, everybody else did too. The Bulls, the Heat, the Bucks just won the championship. Brooklyn is favored to win. It's like, as soon as we get a little shine, everybody want to come over here too.
How dare you? Listen, the Knicks look great this year. They've improved in every area. But as you mentioned, the rest of the East unfortunately got really good too. And I will just, the Knicks are 2-1 right now, lost a winnable game to the Magic last night, to Sunday night, excuse me. You live by the 3, you die by the 3. I will just say this as my one blurb for the New York Knicks. Hey, KD, don't you regret not coming to the Knicks? Bing bong. He is a multiple-time New York Times best-selling author and the man who accuses me of crimes almost daily, Shea Serrano. Shea, how are you?
What up? I feel great.
All right, so listen. Sorry to cut you off, but I'm excited to show you a little something, okay? As you can see, we're ready, Shea.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
We are ready, as you know.
Get the books.
I want my book signed, okay? I've already told you this. I want my book signed, the rap and other things. I want that signed because I already got my other 2 here with me. I want to know, what kind of insight should we expect to see in your new book, Hip Hop and Other Things?
Everything you could ever want to know about rap is in the new book, and it's awesome. Every single thing. Name a thing, it's in there. Name one rapper, Renee. One rapper.
Let's say Justin Bieber.
He is not in there. We're already 0 for 1. We're 0 for 1.
Tupac.
E40.
Tupac.
I feel like that's a good start. There's a whole chapter in there about Tupac. It's incredible. It might be the best chapter in there.
E40.
There's a whole chapter about E40. It might be the best chapter in there. I don't know.
Jay-Z.
The whole chapter. This is literally the first chapter in the book. Jay-Z's the greatest rapper. The greatest rapper of all time.
Kendrick Lamar.
There's a Kendrick Lamar chapter in there. Kendrick Lamar, though, here's the thing. Let me ask you, because you guys can just give me a very quick answer, because I spent 3,000 words talking about this for Kendrick Lamar. Kendrick Lamar put out an album called Good Kid, Mad City. Maybe the best album of the decade from 2010 to 2019. The same decade, Kanye West put out My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. Maybe the best album from 2010 to 2019. That's what the chapter is about. It's about deciding finally which of those 2 is the better album. Which do you think it was here? Pick one.
It's Kanye for me.
I was about to say, if it's a preference, I don't know though, because I still like, there's songs from both, but see, that's why it's tough. I'm like, I feel bad with, I'm gonna have remorse any answer I give, but let's just go Kendrick.
See, one Kendrick, one Kanye. It's settled in the book. It's 100% settled. By the time you read that chapter, you're gonna know.
Interesting. Did you always know the Other Things would be a trilogy of books, or like, did you start that knowing it was going to be a trilogy?
We did. So me and Arturo were doing a newsletter in 2016-ish, 2017, called Basketball and Other Things. Oh, excuse me, in 2015 is what it was. Because we started it right after we all got fired from Grantland. They're like, hey, nobody works here anymore, and I didn't have a job. And we wanted something to do, so we started this newsletter, and we called it Basketball and Other Things. And pretty early on, we were like, oh, this is a cool template. We should make this a book. And then we're like, oh, we should do like our 3 favorite things: basketball, rap, and movies. Let's take it out as a trilogy, like big picture. That's what we want to do. And then we got lucky enough that the first one did well, and then the second one did better, and then now we're on the third one.
This collaboration between you and Arturo has been so fruitful and really historic in the publishing world. 2 Mexican Americans reaching the heights of the bestseller list. How did you 2 first link up?
When I did the rap yearbook, which is the very first book we did together, when I pitched it originally, I just pitched it myself. And when I told them, I said, I'm going to write everything and I'm going to draw everything, because I also like to draw. And they're like, okay, cool. And then they give you like a year to write the book and then a year to edit it or whatever. 10 months into the year, I was like, oh, I should probably start writing this. I just didn't write anything. I thought it was going to be super easy. And then I realized very quickly I wasn't going to have enough time to write it and draw everything. So I started looking for artists, and I came across a flyer for this rap group out of Dallas, Texas called The Outfit Texas, one of my favorite rap groups. And they had a really cool flyer with some art on there. And I said, oh, this is exactly the style that I'm looking for. So I reached out to them. Hey, who's the artist? They didn't know. They connected me to their manager. I reached out to her. Hey, who's the artist? She connected me to Arturo. So what's funny is he didn't have his name anywhere on there. She said, oh, his name is Arturo Torres and he lives in Dallas. And I was like, oh, that's a fucking Mexican. That's a Mexican ass name right there. This is perfect. And I got in touch with him and we talked a little bit. And he was at the very start of his artist career. He was still like doing odd part-time jobs or whatever, like at Urban Outfitters and like,
Wow.
Just doing flyers and stuff. But that's how it all started, just from some flyer I saw there. And then now he's doing shit for like Nike and Google.
Yeah.
And like he's one of the biggest artists in America.
Wow.
Do you have a particular favorite piece of artwork that he's done, whether it's for your collaboration or anything else?
I have an original piece of art that he drew in here because he draws everything by hand. He doesn't do it on the computer. He like sketches it with a pencil and then inks it like a comic book illustrator would. So it's like a picture of a Godzilla type gorilla that he just drew on a little yellow piece of paper. It's my favorite thing that I have of his for sure.
That's lit and definitely going to be worth money. I love
hope
that
so.
storyline behind it. You have such an interesting story. So you started your own publishing company, Halfway Books. Obviously, it makes me think of ain't no such thing as halfway crooks. So that you started that, and it was to help serve authors that are underrepresented or even overlooked. But I'm curious, like, what made this so important to you to do that, to start a whole publishing company?
Every time I went into a room for like a thing that I was doing with one of my books, I would sit at a table and there would be like 8 people there with me and 7 of them would be white. And I was like, this is not that great of a setup, guys. Like, what are we doing here? And it was just like part of the like excuses that you might hear from some of the big publishers, like, oh, we don't know how to find these other talented writers or editors or whatever who aren't white. And I'm like, well, that's because all of your friends are white. Like
Yeah.
when you ask me for my favorite writers,
Yeah.
or they're all like not that because I'm not that. You know what I'm saying? So I said, well, I'll just start a thing myself and we'll just put all of us here. If I'm gonna hire, like I'm gonna hire an editor, it's gonna be a not white person. If I'm gonna hire a writer, it's gonna be a not white person. Like that was just felt like something I wanted to do, just to be like, look, it can be done. It's not that hard. Just took like, I posted one link on Twitter and got 2,000 applications or whatever. Like they're out there.
And how many people are a part of your publishing company now? Just like if you have a count.
When we did the first run, I hired 5 authors, a fact checker, an editor, and a design layout person. So that I think there was like 9 total when we were working on it at the time. And then we'll do it again in 2022, and then I'll hire 9 more. But it's not like a full-time thing. This is like, come on for this project.
No, but that's
work for a
opportunities.
few weeks. So.
Don't be downplaying your stuff, Shay. That's a big deal. Like that's
I'm
that's
always
a big
gonna
deal.
downplay it.
No,
Always gonna downplay it.
No.
The...
So one of the things I think we forgot to put on your CV is you are now the official voice of the San Antonio Spurs. Don't fact check this, but
yeah,
Shea Serrano
cool.
is the official voice of the San Antonio Spurs. First of all, as a lifelong Spurs fan, what was that experience like, and how are you feeling about the Spurs this season?
The experience was like unbelievable. I got a text from a guy who works at the Spurs, a buddy of mine, and he said, "Hey, we got this project, and like I think you should try. Like, let's have a meeting about it." And they told me what they wanted to do, which was basically voice the video that they play in the very beginning of the season, the like hype up video about the Spurs and their new campaign called Por Vida, which is like all about their ties to the community of San Antonio for the last however many decades. So it was really cool because I have been going to Spurs games with my dad since I was 4 or 5 years old. Like this was back before they play in the AT&T Center now. Before that, it was the Alamo Dome. Before that, it was the Hemisphere Arena. So we were going to the Hemisphere Arena. This was before they even drafted David Robinson, when they were just god awful and you just got tickets for free. Like we've been going to the games since then. So for them to ask me to do this campaign specifically with this like tilt on it about like, oh, this is for, people who have been fans forever. Like it was very it was very overwhelming. I felt very proud, very excited. I got so many texts about it. My family was very impressed.
Because that's big lit. And you know what? And speaking of San Antonio, you've been a supporter of the WNBA for years. I love that. I just would like to say that there's a lot of people coming. You've been here. But can you take me, like, first of all, when my dream play the Aces, who you rolling with?
The Aces? Are you out of your mind? Are you crazy? Are you crazy? We should have won the title this year. I started.
Did you say that
watching,
to me last year?
I thought we were good. I thought I was telling the truth. I don't know. I felt like pretty confident about it. So I started watching the league when the Aces started up. They had just gone from San Antonio.
Yep.
And yeah, every year they got better. They just missed the playoffs the first year. Then they got into the playoffs, and then they got to the finals, and then we were supposed to get it, but man, heartbreaking. I felt so bad. Poor Asia was just. This is what I love about Asia Wilson, because she was broken after the game. Like, she was just collapsed on the court, and you're like, well, this is a player I could root for because she cares about this so much. She's a fucking monster out there too.
I love that.
He is Shea Serrano. His new book, Hip Hop and Other Things, is out today. Get it wherever you get your books. You can find him on Twitter at Shea Serrano. He also has, you can also feel free to pick up his books, Bun B's rap coloring book and activity book, the rap yearbook, the most important rap song from every year since 1979, Basketball and Other Things, Movies and Other Things. Feel free to pick those up. Shea, thank you for joining Takeline. That's it for us. Follow and subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Don't forget to subscribe to Takeline Show on YouTube for exclusive video clips from this episode, plus my digital series, All Caps NBA, which comes out debut episode this Friday. Check it out. Goodbye.
Let's go.